Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. With all the matches in the North American Challenger side completing last night, we now have an official picture as to what the playoffs is going to look like. G2 go 0-5 and do not look good at all as it stands to qualify for Ascension in playoffs in just a couple of weeks time, but also the relegation format has been determined with DSG down there with a very tricky time if they want to get back into Challengers for next season. Very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, in the Pacific, everything concluded yesterday, so we get to the point where Mako's been absolutely killing it on DRX, no doubt about that. On the Viper has been ridiculously good. These are the stats for the entire region. Sugar0 from Zeta getting on here as well. They have a pretty difficult time ahead of them, it's got to be said, because this is the bracket for the Pacific side. Starting just tomorrow, the playoffs begin, and of course the top 3 teams at this playoffs, they get through to Masters Tokyo. I always find these formats strange in a way because the 2 teams in the grand finals, they will be at Masters Tokyo guaranteed. So, you know, if you win, sound. If you don't, who cares? You're going to go to Tokyo anyway, and that's where you want to win. The winner of the losers finals, you know, they make the grand finals, sure, but they've already qualified at that point. The most interesting and important game here is probably lower round 2, which is like, it's weird that losers round 2 will have more impact, I think, than the grand finals. Both of the upper semis are important. If DRX win this one, if PaperX win this one, they'll get to the upper final, and that should be guaranteed top 3, I believe. But losers round 2, lower round 2 here, the winner of that also gets top 3. So, you know, that to me is going to be the biggest series. So, Zeta, they play Team Secret round 1. Team Secret have been looking really good lately. That's a tough draw, I think, for Zeta. And if they win that, they play DRX. So, you know, Zeta, they really want to qualify for Tokyo. Hopefully they can make it. That first series is going to be really tough, though. And I'm sure, like, beating DRX is going to be so much of a challenge that I don't expect it to happen. So, Zeta might well find themselves in losers. They might need to come through this losers round 2 game to qualify, which they could well do. T1 versus GenG on the other side. Winner plays PaperX. That's starting very shortly indeed. Also, let's talk about the EMEA side because, I mean, last night it went as expected. Na'Vi could not take down the absolute juggernauts in Fnatic right now. There were some ridiculous moments in this as well. Like, Alpha is just insanely, like, the entire team is just ridiculous. They have so much firepower and talent. It's absolutely outrageous. Chronicle just gets the 4K and Alpha steals the ace here, but I mean, when you're already up 1-0 and that's happening, you're just thinking, alright, this is done and dusted. So Na'Vi, despite being the second best team in the region, looked comfortably second best here. Alpha went 49 in 27 for the win, 39 on Lotus, and then 13-8 on splits, going 29-11 in just those 21 rounds. So ridiculous performances, again, like the entire quartet. Even Boaster's been doing his slaying, but he doesn't need to get any kills, Boaster. Given the way his teammates are performing right now, is absolutely outrageous. So they finish 9-0 record, 18 in what map count, comfortably the team to beat in the game and the best team in the world, I believe, as it stands. And I don't even think, like, Fnatic even last year in this split, they went like 5-0, 5-0 in the 2 splits. Like, I think they've been undefeated in these kind of qualifier games all the way back to 2021. Like, it's absolutely insane. It's been like 2 years these guys haven't been beaten in one of these kind of, you know, series games. The other side of things, right, is what happened on the Sentinel situation in the Americas. We're going to get the conclusion to this over the coming days. They're trying to figure things out. This, I believe, from Platchet is the best graphic to explain this that I've actually seen so far. So if Sentinels lose to Furia, they're of course done and dusted. If they win 2-1, they need a lot of things to go their way. EG need to beat NRG, Leviathan need to beat Loud, MIBR need to beat 100 Thieves. So that's probably not going to happen. They need to win 2-0, probably. Then we get to the NRG versus EG series. If NRG win 2-0, that's good enough for Sentinels to qualify. If NRG win 2-1, then they need Leviathan to beat Loud, MIBR to beat 100 Thieves. Probably not going to happen, but who knows. Then EG win. If they beat NRG, then they only need MIBR to beat 100 Thieves, which still probably not going to happen, but could happen. So the best case scenario is they 2-0 Furia and NRG 2-0, and if they don't 2-0, then they probably just want EG to win, and therefore they can at least hope that MIBR can upset 100 Thieves, and then they'll have a chance. So it's unlikely, but it's still possible. That's the best explainer I've seen so far. Let's talk about challenges then, because first of all, this tweet from Harmful, it was formerly on Turtle Troop, right? who was dropped from the team after not being particularly impressive, and tweeted them last night, "Me pray extra hard for your downfall." So basically just, pray for them to lose and bow out of the tournament, as they indeed do, but I just thought it was a bit unnecessary maybe from harmful sides after what's happened there over the last few months. Feel really bad for Turtle Troop, man, and we'll get to that here in a second. First of all, though, G2 versus the Guard. This was G2's chance to prove they're not completely terrible now, but unfortunately, they're pretty bad now. They haven't been woeful over the last few series, they've not been good, obviously, but they've definitely shown some signs of life, and they did play a good team today, and I still think there's a chance that G2 can turn up to the playoffs. Great ace here from Net as well, and actually deliver something, but it's just not particularly likely as it stands. They came top 2 in the mid-season invitational to M80, still the best team in Challengers right now. If they do that again, they'll qualify for the Ascension playoffs, but they did so well in the first half of the season that even going 0-5 was irrelevant for their qualification. So as Immy says, "You're telling me we can go 0-5, make playoffs and make Ascension, love this." And that's turned out to be exactly what they did. Now, some people would say this format is terrible, and I think it is terrible in part. It doesn't really make that much sense. But G2, G2 are 8-3, I believe, series count over the player or the mid-season invitational and split 1, and now they're 8-8 series count, which is better than some other teams that have made the playoffs. So on the entirety of the couple of splits that we've had, I don't think the teams that have advanced are the wrong teams per se, but the idea that they could have gone 0-5 and still make it without a sweat, without even worrying about it, is still kind of funny, really. So anyway, G2, they did make it no problem. I will just mention on G2, though, because they were looking super hot, right? I mean, they were in such a good spot. At the start of the year, they lose to M80 in the MSI finals, and they feel like, okay, they can go one better. Since then, they've lost to everyone they've played. It wasn't even particularly close against the Guard yesterday, and Zoms is like, "Look, I've been summoned, bring me back. ShahZaM and dapr, they need me on that roster if they want to succeed." And as ShahZaM says, "Yeah, we suck right now, but most people probably haven't even watched a single game." So, I mean, yeah, look, ShahZaM seems to know what they need to improve on. They've got some time to work on it, and the nice thing is for many of these teams in some way is that you get to see the bracket now. These teams know for the next several days of practice exactly who they're playing, who to prepare for, what to do for vetoes, for compositions, for setups and all this, and they get to prepare hard for their opponents. So that might play to G2's advantage, but they go down here to Net and Co on the Guard, and these were the numbers, right? Not particularly close. 2-0 for the Guard, Ascent was 13-11, it was competitive, Lotus though 13-7, and they ran away with it in the end. So the Guard hitting up to a little bit of form towards the end of the year. dapr had a bit of a tough time, but yeah, it's tough to say whether this was the Guard playing particularly well, or whether this was G2 just continuing in the misery that they've been on. The other big series though, okay, 2 other big series. One was Moist Mogul's FaZe. They 2-0'd FaZe last night. Again, Moist Moguls right now might be the best team in Challengers. M80 have been good, don't get me wrong, very good, and still will be the favourites. babybay tried his best in this series, it wasn't enough. There were some crazy moments from Brook, from even, from Flyer himself, the IGL of the roster. 13-11 game 1, competitive, but it went their way, and then a 13-5 comfortable victory on Haven. That puts Moist Moguls from an 0-5 for G2 to 5-0 for Moist Moguls. Like, what a run they've had. It's an awesome story, right, for them, and hopefully it's nice for Disguise Toast himself to see as well that these teams that are funded by creators can do well and be successful. Hopefully you can maintain confidence that that will be the case going forwards. So as B-Dog says here as well, back against the walls. This is from the SR side. They absolutely needed to 2-0 Turtle Troop yesterday to qualify for playoffs, and if they did so, they would be, it would work in such a way that they qualified and Turtle Troop didn't. Turtle Troop only needed to win 1 map last night, but they couldn't win either. They go down 2-0, Bind was 13-6, Ascent was 13-9, and it's a tragic way for them to bow out, to be honest, because they were super good. Dazzle against his former team in SR as well was a tough one for them. They made some changes, they've been unsigned, they've done so much, I thought, Turtle Troop, and were in a good position at times, but all they needed to do, I believe, was win a map. They couldn't do it, and that leaves them out of contention with only 18 total points. Despite turning up in this split, SR, and I believe SR probably did deserve it in the end. Since Vanity joins them, they've definitely taken a step up, and I believe they can actually cause a threat to M80 here when they play, as we'll see in a second. So this is how it all finished out then in the rankings. M80 were number 1, 49 total points, 20 of those from split 1, 10 of those for winning the MSI, and then 19 from split split 2, whereas Moist Moguls got 25 from split 2, and they secure themselves the 3rd seed. You can argue that they should, maybe be a higher or lower seed based on their recent performances and how much this should be weighted towards recent performances compared to earlier performances. It's kind of tough in a way that only the best teams from split 1 got to even go to the MSI and get some points, and therefore that means M80 got, 30 points total from their split 1 performances, whereas Moist Moguls could only really get 25 from their second half performances. But fundamentally, I feel like the right teams have qualified. Mad Lions, OR Esports, Disguised, and unfortunately the Turtle Troop just not quite good enough to make it. And these, though, are the teams. G2 still 5th, and they only lost 2 spots, despite the fact that they got bodied this entire stage and got 2 points on the board, only more than Disguised with just 1. And that was a resultant of this setup here. So this is the way things finished up, and it means that this will be the bracket going forwards. This is starting May the 31st. They've got a couple of weeks ready to figure things out. So it's M80 versus SR round 1. That is, I don't think, a particularly easy game for M80. SR have been looking good. They will be very well prepared here. We know seanGez is working with them to try and, well, maybe he's not super working with them from like a coaching perspective, but he's on the organization. He might give some thoughts to them. Vanity will be well prepared for M80, and that's a massive series. Oxygen G2, right now you've got to favor Oxygen, but G2 have got some time to prepare. The Guard phase, a big one as well. The Guard should be favorites. And then Moist Moguls TSM, a great first round draw, I think, for Moist Moguls. They should be able to get the job done here, and then they'll play a winnable series. It's top 2. So in this situation, the 2 teams that make the grand finals, the top 2 of these playoffs will make it to the Ascension. This is June the 10th. We're going to find out 2. But of these 8 teams, 2 will get through to the Americas Ascension tournament, with 6 other teams from around the Americas, Brazil, LATAM, etc., etc. So I believe that's the plan. On the other side of things, you've got the relegation. So those 4 teams go down to relegation. It's a pretty simple 4-team bracket here. So yeah, June the 4th is when these games begin, and by June the 6th, we're going to know who. So yeah, whoever wins, I think Turtle Troop should be favored. They'll feel confident they can at least win one or both of these series. Disguise, they've got a tough time. I think they've beaten OR Esports in the past. If they can do it again, they should be in an okay spot. The thing is with this group is potentially that, let's say Disguise beat OR Esports, they lose to Turtle Troop, and then OR Esports beat Mad Lions, and Disguise beat them again. Disguise can re-qualify, beating the same team twice. That is an option here with the kind of GSL style format that this is. But yeah, 2 of these teams make it to qualify back into next year's challenges. 2 of them are relegated, and then the open qualifiers at the start of next season will return to determine the replacement, or it could be the same team again if they qualify, but that's going to be a very tall order. So yeah, this is a big tournament, and Disguise really need to finally come good in this one. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.